Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we are live. Last night's card, yeah, they called it the. Excuse me, let me just turn myself down in the background. 1 second. They called it the greatest card of all time. The greatest card of all time. I very much disagree, but nevertheless, yeah, you don't just want to hear from me. We want to hear from a long time, yeah, friend of the show, my brother from another mother, yeah. Of course, it must be my man, yeah, Ryan from Old Lion. I'm even rhyming. Ryan from the Old Lion, yeah, boxing talk. We'll put all the links in the description, yeah. If you want to find Ryan on Twitter, TikTok, and all that, and YouTube, we'll put all the descriptions in the box because you guys asked me how we can find Ryan and stuff. We're back at it again, yeah. It's been a long break of a couple of months. There hasn't really been that much boxing on. Boxing started back after Christmas, so we are here now. Any questions for myself and Ryan, we will answer them live on the air as long as they're respectful. Please put those question marks, yeah. Put those questions in the chat on the right hand side. And if you can support the stream by hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic because I certainly am going to say some stuff, yeah, on tonight's show that is going to get me phone calls. 100%, yeah, because you know what, yeah, if you're going to go out, you might as well go out swinging, yeah, unlike Martin Bakole did yesterday night, but we'll talk about that in just a minute, yeah. So, my brother Ryan, yeah, you can see, yeah, we've tried to up the production quality for your arrival ever so slightly. As you can see in the bottom left, yeah, we've got the Good Morning Britain style, yeah, lower thirds going on. Last night's boxing, yeah, all right, the last crescendo, last night's boxing. First question I want to ask you, yeah, without going through every fight just in a minute, but what did you think, yeah, of the event? Yeah, what did you think of the event as a spectacle? What did you think of the event as perhaps a paying customer? What did you think about things like the atmosphere, the fights on the card? How did you think the card flowed? We'll talk about the order of the fights on the card and things like that. But the greatest card ever, Ryan. What were your initial thoughts? And if you had to score it, what would you give it out of 10?
All right, so that statement, the greatest card ever, it comes with two elements to it. You could have the greatest card. You can't have the greatest card ever until the fights happen, because you don't know if the fights present themselves in good fights, or
Exactly,
if they're entertaining. So in terms of a lineup, it was a very very good lineup. And when I say it was a very very good lineup, the majority of the fights that were originally announced, not the fights that we got, the fights were majority 50-50 fights. But 50-50 fights don't make entertaining fights all the time. You can't predict that. So in terms of the lineup originally, I thought it was a very good lineup. Was it the best lineup ever? I'm not sure about that. I mean,
let me ask. No, carry on. Please carry on, Ryan. Carry on. Sorry.
I mean, like we don't want to go back into like the ancient times, but there were some very very good boxing cards. Every generation has great boxing cards. You know what I mean? But it's the fact that you remember. Out of the 7 fights we had last night, 3 will be remembered more than likely. The other 4 mostly won't be remembered. So I can't say it's the greatest.
Do you know what? It's exactly, Ryan, what I said last night. I'm going to get a card up here. I'm going to bring a card up on the screen if I can, yeah. And I'm actually going to show you a card, yeah. Because what we spoke about last night is I asked people about a particular card. And again, this card isn't as good, yeah, on paper as last night's card. Like, we're not saying like the actual the fight paper or anywhere near this card. But I asked people about this card that took place, yeah, 10 years ago. And I have people in the chat who are telling me that, yeah, we can still remember the fights on this card. We can still remember how good that card was. I'm going to get up on the screen in a minute, but
yeah,
do you know what card was? I asked people about the Kell Brook, Frankie Gavin, Anthony Joshua and Kevin Johnson, Lee Selby Gradovich, Kevin Mitchell, Jorge Linares card.
Yeah,
you would have covered box talk. Do you remember that card?
I do remember that card,
Ryan? Yeah. 10 years, Ryan. 10 years. We were asking people yesterday, and people, yeah, still remembered where they were. It was called, I've got it on the screen, I'm going to bring it up in a minute. It's called Rule Britannia, yeah? And people still remembered 10 years ago when they were, where they were when they were watching Mitchell and Linares, yeah? Or where they watched that Lee Selby masterclass or things like that. And it goes back to what you said, Ryan. This wasn't one of those cards that, in my opinion, years and years down the line, you're going to be like, where was I when I watched that? That's my opinion.
There's 2 promoters are going to promote. and they're going to say it's the best thing ever. And I believe the influence of Turki Alalshikh has made boxing more competitive. Obviously, fighters are getting paid. He's putting on bigger shows than we've got before. But just because they're bigger shows than we got before, it didn't mean we didn't get big shows before that. Promoters generally work together. Don King and Bob Arum work together. Frank and Eddie didn't work together. So over here, the big fights never really happened. So we only got the big fights now because they're working together. If they worked together prior or before they became marquee in their respective fields, we had big cards.
I think we had. I think we've had better nights. That's my opinion, but we'll go through it in a minute. Listen, last night they moved the arena because they wanted to do it in a 30,000 seater, but they've heard people's complaints about the atmosphere and things like that, right? And so they moved it to a 6,000 seater to try and make it a little bit smaller and make it a little bit more intimate. Now, obviously, look, we care about the fights more than the atmosphere. I'm not trying to say the atmosphere supersedes fights, yeah? But what I'm saying is, when we watch like Dubois versus AJ, for example, all right? For me, like, and I could be wrong, when I watch those fights like Dubois and AJ, it does give me the impression that I'm watching something that's borderline historical. Like, you're watching the fights, yeah? You can literally hear the crowd gasping. You can hear 80,000 people gasping as the punches are landing. You know what I mean? You can hear people screaming and shouting. You can hear the roaring as you know, as Dubois coming onto it, the roaring as AJ's coming back into it. You can hear all of that. You can see Conor McGregor in the background. We all saw Conor McGregor in the background when AJ got knocked down. He's jumping around. You can see people, you know, I can't believe it. You know, for me, actually, as someone who's actually paying 15, 20 quid, yeah, that actually, to me, actually does add to the spectacle. What did you think? Do you think there's still an issue there with the atmosphere there? Or do you think at this point we just need to say, look, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because we're getting fights that we would have never got before regardless?
So I'm with you. The fights in the ring count more for me. But obviously, you're looking to be entertained. The problem is that when you get a card like when AJ fought Dubois, people who are there are generally boxing fans or fight fans. And if they're not boxing fans or fight fans, they know who AJ is or they know who Dubois is. When you got the fights in Saudi, I don't think the crowd are particularly boxing fans. They're just sport fans or people that like entertainment, so they're going out for a show. Because when you're passionate about something, emotions rise. So you got a crowd there that is 6,000. Let's say they fly in 500 people. You've got the other 5,500 people, which are just guys that people are there to be entertained and to watch a sport, not to actually be part of the sport. It's different. When I go to live fights, I'm animated, I'm happy, I'm excited because I want to see a fight. I'm talking about the fights that's up and coming and what's going on next. Over there, I don't think it's like that. But again, that's just my estimate here. I've never been to Saudi, so I can't tell you. But that's my estimate. That's what I think is happening. It's not boxing guys out there that are attending those events. You still there?
I'm still there. Sorry, I muted myself there because there was a bit of echo in the background and I didn't unmute myself. I think where most people think that they might have gone a little bit wrong yesterday is the order of the fights. And I just wanted to ask you, most people are saying the best fight of the night was the first fight, which is Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi. And Shaka Stevenson somehow got in the ring with Padley, who obviously, do you know what I mean? It was a late replacement, found himself very, very, very close to the main event. Just a quick question before we get on to some of the individual fights. Did you think the order of the fights was correct? Because I found myself like Buatsi and Callum Smith, great fight. And then I kind of found myself like Adames and Shiraz weren't a great fight. And then like Shaka Stevenson for me wasn't a great fight and things like that. So there was kind of a bit of a lull for me of or maybe an hour or two there in between the excitement. I could be wrong. What do you think about that?
Yes. Me personally, I'm not sure to put Zhang versus Kabial as the first fight. That's why originally when the fight came up, because this order's been set for weeks. When Schofield pulled out and then obviously Josh Padley stepped in, based on accolades, that fight should have been first. However, what they've done was they stacked all the world title fights together at the end because it's a world championship fight. So they wanted to make it like something special. However, in my opinion, if you open a card with a world title fight, that gives kudos to how special the card is.
I hear you. I hear you. I absolutely hear you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But if you look at the fight, they literally stacked it not based in quality of fight. They stacked it based in world titles and who got what.
What did you think was the best fight? Just to confirm, what were the moments of the night that you'll remember the most?
So the three fights that stood out for me as a whole, not in particular order, was obviously the main event, Bivol Beterbiev. That was a great fight. Very technical, high class, high experience fight. Obviously the Buatsi versus Callum Smith was a great fight. That was mostly the most on par in terms of entertainment, but it's a different style fight. It was different style, so it was just different. So yeah, those are the two that stood out for the most. And then obviously Madrimov versus Ortiz. I thought that was very highly engaging. Know what I mean? But again, Madrimov Ortiz, that was the third fight in the card. Me personally, again, if I was stacking that card correctly, I much would have had that fight just before Bakole Parker.
Okay.
Yeah.
The main event quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to see a third fight between these guys? Because it looks like there's going to be a third one. Beterbiev's kind of already said it's going to happen. Do you want to see a third one? For you, is there any unfinished business there? Or for you now, have you seen enough after 24 rounds?
I've seen enough to know that whenever these guys fight, it's going to be close, it's going to be tight, and it's going to be like a pendulum. One day you watch the fight and think this guy won, one day the other guy won. So because it's one apiece, there's going to be a trilogy. Sometimes boxing, let's be honest, boxing and promotion is about money. It's about making money. Yeah, they all talk about putting on the best fights and the biggest fights. They put on the best and biggest fights to get our pound notes. It's about money. So they know the fight sells. They know it's engaging. They know it's entertaining. So they will put it on. But sometimes it's just good to have a good fight for the sake of having a good fight. Every fight doesn't require a rematch. But because it is so close, they're going to do a rematch. They're going to do a trilogy. Like I'll give you an example of when I say where you don't really need a rematch. How many times has
Anthony Yard and Lyndon Arthur? Anthony Yard and Lyndon Arthur 3?
There we go. He doesn't need
the
a
worst
rematch.
worst trilogy ever. Worst trilogy you ever seen?
Yeah, you don't need it. What about when Chisora and Fury?
Oh my God, that's a shocker. That's right
but this is all about money. It's all about money. Remember, how many times has Pacquiao fight Marquez? Was it 4 or 5?
4 times.
You don't need 4. You don't need 4 fights. No, I mean you don't need that. No, I mean, but they know those fights will sell, and that's what it comes down to. As much as we like to sit on our chairs saying, "Look, it's a sport. It's boxing. It's competitive. It's gladiators." No, sports is all about money. Football is about money. Boxing is about money. Every sport you watch, even golf. Yeah, if someone wasn't paying for it, they wouldn't put it on.
My next question, quickly. How did you score Bivol Beterbiev? How did you have it?
I had it for Bivol this time. The first fight I had it for Beterbiev. I thought it was close. I thought it was 7-5. This one I had it for Bivol, and I didn't. I had a full house, so I didn't get to score it as well I would like to score it. But I think I was leaning towards 7-5 or possibly 8-4. I thought it was close up until round 8, and then Bivol took over from round 9 onwards.
I wanted to ask you about Martin Bakole. Is that okay if I go on to Bakole?
Of course you can.
Is that all right?
Yeah. This is complicated.
It is. All morning, yeah. All morning I've been hearing about Martin Bakole, the last king of Scotland. The narrative is, and I'm not speaking for Ryan, by the way. When I say this, I'm speaking for me. I ain't speaking for Ryan, okay? But the narrative is that Bakole is some kind of hero, all right? Bakole is some kind of hero. You know, people saying, oh, you know, he's a warrior. Yeah, of course he's a warrior. He fights for a living. I would never say a professional fighter isn't a warrior and things like that. But you know why I want to go a little bit harsh on Martin Bakole, to me, right? This is why I want to go in on Martin Bakole a little bit, right? See, the guy made a name shitting on other people, right? In my opinion, like Martin Bakole only has a name in boxing right? Because he's basically him and Billy Nelson. I love Billy Nelson to the ends of the earth, but just going to tell you how it is. Martin Bakole only has a name because him and Billy Nelson made a living shitting on other people's misfortune. Okay. Like, I'm going all the way back here. And guys in the chat, if you think I'm right, press 1. If you think I'm wrong, press 2. And I just want to see what you think. I mean, I'm talking all the way back to when Daniel Dubois had his eye socket smashed up by Joyce and things like that. We had to endure all this bullshit about hearing stories about Dubois, once a quitter, always a quitter, this and that about Dubois and sparring. Those two have made a living, more than anybody I can think of in heavyweight division, of absolutely pissing and shitting on people when they're at their lowest, right? They turn up in Saudi, right? They turn up in Saudi, and I have to start hearing bullshit, from Spencer Brown about Martin Bakole's trained 8 weeks, Ryan. Martin Bakole's been in training. He's been in training 8 weeks. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. I'll let you talk, but I'm telling you now, all I saw last night, and I said it last night, Martin Bakole to me looked like Prince Akeem out of Coming to America. There's a scene in Coming to America where Prince Akeem, I am happy to be here. I am happy to be here. And that was Martin Bakole last night. He turned up to the ring. This man was fighting to become, WBO mandatory to Alexander Usyk, All right. Now, I see Martin Bakole on camera with Alex Krasuk, and Alex Krasuk saying, oh, Bakole inspiring. This guy's the next champion. He's unbelievable. Bakole comes out to the ring. I swear to God, I said it last night, Ryan. He dapped up more niggas, inside the ring, but then he landed punches. This guy was dapping up. He was shaking hands. He was fist bumping before the fight. He was coming out with a big grin on his face. After he got sparked out in 2 rounds, he gets up, taking fucking selfies in the ring, literally taking selfies in the ring after he got sparked out in 2 rounds. But hold on a minute, mate. Fucking 2, 3 months ago, you was calling everybody under the sun a quitter. You was airing everybody's dirty launch. You know another thing quickly around these fuckers were doing as well? Releasing footage of people sparring without their permission, which is a no-no in any gym. It's a no-no. If you want to film someone in the gym, and you know this, Ryan, you need to ask for their permission. You don't just fucking put a camera out and start filming people. And you don't just
100%.
release footage. You don't just start releasing footage, of sparring, without getting the consent of both parties. So I do love Billy Nelson to bits, but those two, have been in the dirt, for a while, right? And then they come in, Ryan, and they fucking stink the joint out. I'm sorry. You say what you got to say. I've done my bit.
All right, so there's so much elements on this. It's hard to break it down. So first part, what you're talking about is the historical stuff, what's happened in the past and what they've been doing, whatever. Which I agree with you 100%. You can't sparring. What happens in sparring stays in sparring, and sparring is not fighting. Sparring is where you're practicing, you're learning, you're trying to get ready for the big fight. So the sparring stories don't really mean much. I on one side. So here's the 3 sides we got. One, Martin Bakole and his team, Billy Nelson, they misrepresented themselves. Saying that he's been in camp for 8 weeks and this and that, so and so, it was lies. When the fight got announced, I messaged you and said, look, this could be interesting. And I regretted that message when I woke up the following morning.
He got you, Ryan. Ryan, he got you. They got you.
The first thing I heard is that Bakole's stepping in. He's been training for 8 weeks. He was getting ready for a Jaguar, so he's in shape. I thought that is great. And then I got a picture of him at the airport in the morning. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is not in shape. Like it was worrying. And every hour or so, when you got a bit more information and the interviews and the talk and XYZ, then you heard about the flight. It was 2 flights. He had to hang over here, so on, so on, so. And then when he came in on Sunday, it was like Saturday morning. It was like 3 a.m. It was like there's no guy in the world that could prepare for a fight under those conditions. I got sadder as the week progressed over those 48 hours because I knew Bakole wasn't going to be ready after I thought he would be ready. But here's the thing about it, which I understand why Bakole did it. Bakole is based in the UK. He's got Billy Nelson. These guys have been talking, as you said, shit for years. But guess what? The big dogs, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, they ain't put him in a fight. No one's picking him up. You have this big heavyweight resurgence in the UK. You had obviously AJ, you had Fury, you had Dillian Whyte, you got all the young guys coming up. You've got all these heavyweight. Britain's the hotbed for heavyweights. And you got a heavyweight based in Britain who wants to fight, that can't get no fights. The reason why Bakole took that fight last night, because Turkey called him and said, look, mate, here's $500,000. Bakole hasn't smelt $500,000. He ain't smelt $250,000. He might have been lucky if he's made 150,000 per fight. He's been blocked out of the division. And if he was based in another country where heavyweights ain't big, that's one thing. But the UK's been the heavyweight hotbed for at least 10 years. And he can't get a sniff. Yeah? If he can't get a sniff where all the heavyweights are, how is he going to get a top 10 ranked or a top fight or anything at all? He's not getting it. Like, everyone's talking about the Gerard Anderson fight. We all knew Gerard Anderson was not ready. He was not a top 10 guy. Yeah, he ain't fought no one. So the reason why Bakole took the fight, because he said, look, I can at least get paid and make a name. He rolled the dice and said, guess what? If I beat Parker, I beat him. If I don't, I don't. But Turkey's already promised me that I still get the Ejagba fight. So for him, a loss is a win.
Mark, Ryan, can I just butt in and quickly ask you something?
Yeah.
Someone in the comment section saying he's fighting May the 4th against Ejagba.
Yeah.
He's just been fucking sparked out in 2 rounds. Is he definitely going to get cleared? They don't give a fuck, yeah? Whoever lets him fight will clear him, yeah?
Yeah, he'll get cleared to fight. Like, I'm not being bad. I think people were a bit harsh on the knockout. I think the knockout was not a legit knockout. And when I say not a legit knockout, he was done, yes, but he weren't sparked out. He weren't cold. The towel came in and saved him from more damage. As you said, he was in the ring after taking selfies and busting jokes. So he'll get cleared to fight.
And I will say, look, no, Karen, please carry on.
Parker deserves credit for taking the fight on short notice as well, but you can't give Parker too much credit, because there's no way in the world that a professional world-class fighter trains for 12 weeks and a guy that we know now hasn't trained since August 2024, that's 6 months, is going to beat you. Yeah, right? So if Bakole was in shape, it would have been a different fight. It would have been sharper, better reflexes, lighter feet. That punch mostly wouldn't have landed the way it landed. Again, being in shape and being ring in shape, Bakole hasn't had a punch thrown at him in 6 months. If he was actually training, it would have been totally different.
So yeah, I agree with you. It's a cash out. Yeah, it's a cash out.
Yeah.
Actually, let me just quickly read this. Right, this is interesting. This is Stephen, who's a troublemaker. He's an absolute shit stirrer. You're meant to not spar for 30 days after you get knocked out, but I'll have to bypass that rule. Any comments on that, Ryan?
Boxing's a shady business. Yeah, and like I said, even if he doesn't spar for 30 days, today's what, the 22nd, 23rd. If he gets licensed to spar on the 23rd of March, he's still got what, 6 weeks before the Ejagba fight. What happens behind closed doors should stay behind closed doors. Who knows if he's sparring or not? And like I said, he got officially it's a knockout, but to me it was more of a stoppage, because like I said, he went down. He kind of got back up on wobbly legs, but he went out. He didn't take a sustained beating. He took a single shot at the top of the head and went down. I think we have to. Knockouts are bad, but not all knockouts are created equally. AJ was knocked the fuck out by Dubois.
Yes, he was. Yes.
Yeah. Bakole wasn't knocked out. He was stunned and the corner through the towel because they knew he weren't in fighting condition.
Do you think now? I thought of him. I still do think of him quite highly. Right. Yeah. Do you think I'm going to give you a fight? Martin Bakole with 12 weeks of training versus Anthony Joshua. Do you think they would do that fight? Do you think they would, and do you think they should? Because do you know what I mean? Both coming off a loss. Do you know what I mean? Both coming off a loss. Yeah. Both been knocked out. Just out of interest.
So here's the problem. Yeah, is that Frank and Eddie didn't want Bakole in the first place. Because like I said, he's been around for a long time and they've got all the heavyweights. Frank and Eddie had 9% of the top 10 heavyweights for the past 10 years. And they didn't want Bakole. Now he's lost to Parker in 2 rounds. They're going to say, why Bakole? He lost to Parker. You you know, boxing is one of those sports where everyone's your friend for a second and then they're not your friend when it doesn't suit. So before the fight, Eddie Hearn was saying, Martin Bakole stepped up. It's great. He's coming in. Can you believe this? Martin Bakole stepped in with Daniel Dubois. And then Frank was saying, this is amazing. This is great. He's coming in, he's showing his heart, showing his guts. Now he gets knocked out. Everyone's like, he shouldn't have took the fight. Do you see how quick these guys change their minds?
I'm with you. I'm listening. I'm with
you. They changed their minds. That's it. On Friday and Saturday, Bakole was the savior. Sunday morning, they've all said in interviews today, he shouldn't have took the fight. Why did he take the fight? Threw him under the bus straight away. So there will be no Bakole and AJ in Africa unless Turkey says, I'm going to do that event and I'm going to pay them extraordinary amount of money. Why would you fight? Why would you fight a 6'6", heavy-handed guy that's got fast reflexes, hands and hand speed and power, that's been avoided for 10 years? Now he's for 5 years. Now he's been knocked out. Why fight him? Even though the knockout is dubious, and we knew he was on a plane for bloody 24 hours, had no sleep, had no training, wore Daniel Dubois' gloves. He didn't even have his own shit with him. And now they all threw him under the bus.
That was weird. What was that about? They couldn't even get him a pair of. Or is it? Why was that? Was that for a particular reason? Because they were pre-approved. He didn't have time, or what the fuck?
They have no gloves that will fit him, and obviously need approved gloves. So yeah, so he had Daniel Dubois' gloves. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if we're going to be totally impartial and just look at the 48 hours before Bakole came in, it's a nightmare. Even if Bakole was in shape and trained for 8 weeks, you wouldn't let AJ or Fury fight under those circumstances. Without their shit, without their gloves, flying in on 2 planes for 24 hours and landing at 3 o'clock the morning of the fight, weighing in on a domestic scale. You would never get AJ doing that. You would never get Fury doing that. You would never get Usyk doing that.
One of my co-hosts asked the following question about this. He said, Turki Alalshikh here has access to more money than 99% of human beings walking the face of the earth, yeah? Why wasn't Martin Bakole given a private jet to take him directly from A to B? Was there a reason? Is there just a logical reason for that I've missed out? Instead of why he's flying economy, the man taking 3 easy jets, all the way from fucking Congo to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so the story I heard, and this was from an interview I heard with Bakole this morning, is that he went to the king's house to ask for a private plane, and obviously it's the king. He wasn't available because he saw him earlier that day or that week, and then he went to get a private plane, and because it was where he was, it was nighttime, it couldn't be arranged. So because it couldn't be arranged, he took the first flight to get from point A to point B. And they couldn't get him a fucking private plane from point B to point to put to a thing. He had to get another flight. Again, I have no idea about aviation and what the rules are for getting people here and there. But there must be some sort of flight path or flight plan to do international. I know that domestically you could fly, but we're not talking flying like in America from state to state. We're talking going across the world from Congo to America. And I mean, like, it's a different ball game. And I said, I couldn't tell you, but it was more complicated than that. And again, with the window of opportunity he had to make this $500,000, I think sorry to cut you, Teo, I think people don't realize how much £500,000 is. Yeah, Bakole was told you're getting $500,000. He's like, guess what? Give me a train and I'll get there. Give me a bus. Yeah, he's gonna get there by any means necessary. Michael Thompson, why don't they have a couple of decent standby opponents at the ready for each one of these fights? It always seems like they're scrambling to find people that they've not thought about. Ryan, the greatest card of all time, and they're scrambling around for British electricians 2 days out, before the fight to go and fight Shaka Stevenson. So normally on big fights like the main event, you have a backup opponent because the standard model in boxing is that the main event sells the card. Yeah, and that's the standard model where you've heard Bob Arum say it. He don't care about the undercard, he cares about the main event. If you look at the general public in America, they don't get to the fight until the main event. It's only UK fans that are there from like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening when the arenas, everyone fills up. The point I'm making is that they mostly had a backup for the main event, but they didn't thought of the undercard. Now you've got Turkey putting on these type of cards where you've got, in theory,
6 or 7 competitive fights, that means you have to have 6 or 7 decent level people you have to pay to be on the back burner. And I don't think there's an interest in putting that money out there, because chances of someone pulling out of a fight is slim. It doesn't happen often. But if you have to pay 7 world-class fighters to sit on the bench for 3 months and train for 3 months, it's a lot of money.
All right. I want to move on to Turkey, but before we move on to Turkey, I'm going to give you the final last words on Martin Bakole last night, and I'm going to move on to Turki Alalshikh because there's some accusations going around about Turki Alalshikh, Hamza Shiraz, and scorecards.
Okay.
I'll show you. We'll try and bring up the video in a minute. But your final words then about. And do what you said. Let me quickly ask you about Bakole. He's on Boxer, right? I think Boxer's a fucking graveyard. That's my opinion about Boxer.
100%.
I think they're an absolute disgrace. I don't know if you've heard, but Savannah Marshall's the latest one to have had a falling out with them now. Savannah Marshall basically has turned around and said that she was given a fight date, I think sometime in March, asked to come to the press conference, and then fucking told that she had a fight. I know you work for the council, I know you work for the council, and I know councils are some of the most unorganized, fucked up places of all time. But I know you guys in that council. I don't care what council.
Not my department.
Not your department. All right. No. I know the other departments are fucked up, yeah? Listen, even they've got their shit together better than Boxer, Ryan. Even they together better than Boxer. These guys couldn't order a piss up in a brewery, man.
So last night I had a massive argument with some of my mates. So obviously, remember I done a group video called Head of the Table a few years ago.
Yes.
I had my boxing crew down, and I was telling them that box is absolutely dead. I was saying last year or the year before they done like 16 cards or 18 cards. Then last year it was like down to 8. Like literally, there's no money, there's no promotion, there's nothing there. And they were literally saying no, but now he's in with Turkey, he's going to be blah blah. And I tell them, bruv, you need to watch this carefully. Ben Shalom doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have a clue. Frank's on his case. Eddie's on his case for trying to be nice with him now, but he doesn't have a clue. He hasn't developed one fighter successfully yet. Who is he developed from scratch? Yeah, and he won't let Adam Azim, who's a very, very good fighter in my opinion, he won't let Adam Azim fight anyone.
Ryan, I asked a question last night. Other than Brooke versus Khan, can you name one actual big fight that Boxer have done? I'm not talking about one for boxing nerds, like us. I'm talking like the kind of fight where you go into the office, people are like, oh, are you watching this fight? You know what I'm talking about?
The only fight that I could tell you that Boxer's done that captured their imagination after it happened, not when it happened, not before it happened, was Fraser Clark versus Fabio Wardley, the first one. The following day, everyone was like, did you see that fight over the weekend? It's like, yeah. And that was the only one that, but like I say, it wasn't exciting before the card. It was only after. They have promotion is about generating public interest. There's no interest in boxers cards. Every time I watch a boxer card, or me and my friends watch the boxer card, we talk about, look at the crowd, look at the audience, look at this, look at that. It's literally, it's a shame. You've got the biggest domestic platform with deep pockets in Sky, and you don't know what to do with it.
All I'll say in closing is this. I don't speak to many people in boxing, but I've heard things about Boxer. And like I said before, I'll say it on here. I don't give a shit. The general thing I've heard about them is they'll tell you one thing and something completely fucking different will happen. Like that's the overriding theme I've had. And I've spoken to fighters who have spoken to Boxer about doing deals and doing that, And the overwhelming feeling I get, from people in boxing about Boxer is you just can't trust them. Like you, and that's what I've heard. I'm not making any accusations for the lawyers, but I've heard that what they say today could be completely fucking different tomorrow.
I've heard the same thing and more. And and again, I'm not gonna say it's true or not because I don't personally know, but yeah, boxer have issues, and I'll be surprised if they keep their contract much longer.
Let's talk about Turkey. I want to do a temperature check on Turki Alalshikh, right? I'm not going to play it. I'm going to play this, but I'm not going to play the sound because there's actually no point because you can't hear it, right? So you can't hear it on the actual video. There's a lot of question marks about Turki Alalshikh, If I can turn this fucking sound down, 1 second. Here we go. apparently Turkey was ringside, right, during the
Mhm.
Hamza Shiraz fight with Carlos Adames, yeah?
Yep.
And people are accusing Turki Alalshikh here, if I can just zoom out, and I've got it on loop, right? They're
Mhm.
accusing Turki Alalshikh of reading the judges' scorecards mid-fight
Mhm.
or
Turkey was
getting an
standing up and
inkling,
shouting at Shiraz. I saw him in the fight.
right, and then telling him that he's 2 rounds down officially in the middle of the fight. All right. So that's what people are accusing. Now, we don't know if this is true. Now, there has been some disputes. So I want to make it clear. Genuinely, I'm not accusing Turki Alalshikh of everything, but we have to discuss it because this one is actually doing rounds all over the internet. People are saying that somehow, yeah, he's got hold of what the judges are actually scoring this, yeah. And then he's gone up to Hamza Shiraz and he's telling him, you can see he's telling him 2 something or something, I don't know, but apparently he's telling him that he's 2 rounds down. So I'm not saying this is correct, but Boxing Classics HQ says I heard the audio on my video. He said he was 2 down. So
yeah. All right. So
let's
okay.
let's,
So
let's, let's talk about the cards. Wait, right. Let's just talk about the cards as a whole. Right, 118, 110. Yeah, 1 judge to
yep.
Adames.
Yep.
114, 114 to Shiraz. Yeah.
Yep.
Turki Alalshikh's rolling around by the ring, telling Shiraz he's got 2 rounds. He's 2 rounds down. I'll let you carry on.
So first of all, I thought Shiraz lost the fight clear. I didn't think it was close. It wasn't a draw. I think it was a robbery. Shiraz was fighting straight lines, 1-2s going around, basic footwork, nothing special, nothing dynamic. Adames was dynamic, darting in and out, combinations, variety. It was a good performance from him. Turki Alalshikh is the most powerful man in boxing. There's no. He's not. Turki Alalshikh is the most powerful 3 people in boxing because there's no one close to him. There's no one close second or close third. He is by far the most powerful man in boxing for multiple reasons. Be it the money, be it the Ring magazine, be it the radio season stuff. He is by far head and shoulders above everyone else. And the point I'm making is, if he wants to see a scorecard, he's going to see a scorecard. If he wants to walk around and shout out stuff, he can. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to tell him? Yeah. And again, this is not the first time a promoter's done this. Don King done this shit back in the day. Yeah. When you are the king, you do what you want. Know what I mean? So I'm not saying he did it or he didn't do it, but if he did do it, who's going to stop him? Shiraz is talented. Did he deserve a world title shot at this particular point? I don't think so. He could have had a fight or 2 more to develop himself, but it was an opportunity. So he took it. I don't know if other fighters will get the same opportunity like that. A bit of favoritism.
Just to say, yeah, I've got a few technical problems here that I'm trying to work through on mine, but I hear you. I hear you. Just fine. Just keep talking for me while I sort out these technical problems about Shiraz.
No problem.
We were calling him last night the ambassador. That's what we called him now. Hamza the ambassador Shiraz, because he seems to be an ambassador for Riyadh season. They seem to be pretty keen, on getting a title on him, Ryan.
Yeah. So, again, culturally, obviously, the same faith and XYZ. So I understand that. And everyone wants to promote their culture. Yeah, no, I'm trying to say to show the good stuff of their culture. So I understand that he's been an ambassador for it, but just because you're an ambassador for it doesn't mean you should get favoritism or be put in positions that you haven't earned. And again, if Turkey was calling out, telling them, and then that's not, you can't be in the game saying you're going to bring boxing back and make things better, and then do what you've been suspected of doing. It doesn't work that way, when there was a time when people will pull you up and call you out for it. But now there's been conversations, as previously, of reporters saying that they can't work for the Ring, or they can't work or hair, or they can't come to this show because they can't say nothing bad about Turki Alalshikh, or they can't say nothing bad about Ridge season and the events. That defeats the point of journalism. So if you have people around you, again, that are favorable to you, what you want to sell, then you're going to get away with stuff like this. Because like I said, all the journalists that are there haven't reported this, because all the journalists are there are on the same page. The independent journalists, the writers that are well respected in the games that can't get to those events because they want to write stuff which is truthful and not influence, are not invited.
Right. Sorry about that. I'm here. So I've just thank you to my wife. I've just got some headphones and I can now actually hear what you're saying. I heard what you said before about Hamza Shiraz and Turki Alalshikh. Ryan, your temperature check on Turki Alalshikh, yeah? Oh, sorry. Let me just turn off. Your temperature check on Turki Alalshikh. Good for boxing, we all know, right? In terms of, we wouldn't be able to see these fights without Turki. We all know that. Let's be honest. We're not going to, pretend otherwise. And this episode isn't to shit on Turki Alalshikh, yeah? But I just want to run something by you, right? And I don't know if I spoke to you about this to you before, okay? So I just want to run this by you and see if you're on board with this or not on board with this. I just want to know if I'm right or wrong about this. This whole thing about Turki, and Turki is a bit of a boxing mastermind, all right? And he's very, very big on boxing, and he's a big fan of boxing. I just want to ask you, do you buy into that? And the reason I ask you is this, right? I'm not saying anything like particularly terrible about Turki Alalshikh. Again, we have to be grateful because he's given us fights that we wouldn't have normally got. But I want to say one thing, right? It does seem to me that he is heavily influenced, right? Heavily influenced by what Frank Warren want and what Eddie Hearn want. And this goes back to what we said before in it about like, for instance, right, Ryan, let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that Turki Alalshikh's favorite fighter is Mark Chamberlain?
No.
Have you heard this bullshit?
No.
Like, have you heard this absolute bullshit they come up with about this guy? Like, oh, Turki loves boxing. He's well into domestic boxing. He knows boxing inside out. Like, his favorite fighter was Mark Chamberlain. Oh, he loves all these guys. Turki Alalshikh doesn't give a fuck about Mark. Where does this stuff come from?
But you got to remember this though. You got to remember this. Yeah, Eddie and Frank are showmen. They're promoters. Yeah, someone's paying them to do something, to do a show, and they're gonna speak it up. There was every time there's a new power player in boxing, whoever works that power player talks them up. When Golden Boy came along with their money, it was great. When Al Heyman came along with the money for PBC, everyone talks them up. Every time there's a power player, everyone runs to the power player and does business with them in XYZ. When Eddie got the zone and was paying everyone overpriced to go on fights, that's what they do, because you go where the money is. You don't go with his pennies. You go where the millions are, and that's where they are. They're all there with the millions, so they're gonna say this stuff. Turki Alalshikh and his love for boxing, I wouldn't say there's more to it than just boxing, because he's buying up everything with boxing. He's bought the Ring magazine. So okay, let me backtrack.
Go for it, Ryan. Go for it.
To keep things impartial and independent, you need separation. So, for example, if you have a business or a company, you have someone that does this side, someone does the business, someone does the finances, someone does the corporate stuff. You have different people on different sides, and that keeps everyone doing certain bits. And when you have different companies working together, by being separate, keeps you impartial and independent to ensure that your business is successful. The point I'm making is that what Turki's doing, he's picking up promotions, he's picking up Ring magazine, he's got promoters, he basically got a TV network. Yeah, even though he doesn't, but obviously everyone's on the zone, he works for the zone, everything's all being done.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Carry on. Yeah, as per the PIF. PIF bought that's the PIF are investing in the zone. That has changed the game, hasn't it, right now? Because I didn't believe in them, but now the PIF are in, that's a different ballgame now.
He's even part of the undisputed game, the new boxing game. Yeah. The point I'm making is he's part of everything in boxing, which means he ultimately controls everything. If you control everything in boxing, where's the impartiality?
I've said this before, guys in the chat, and guys, you're welcome to. I know quite a few of you are listening. You're welcome to comment, and if you comment, we'll read them out. But guys in the chat, tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. You've probably heard me say this before. I'm not saying he's a bad dude at all. Like I know he's very self-obsessed for sure, Turki Alalshikh. Like he takes himself very, very seriously, like as an individual, Turki Alalshikh, in my opinion. Like he's very, very self-obsessed individual, right? And if you don't believe me, you need to go and look at his Reddit, Ask Me Anything, and you'll get the answers from there. But what I would say is, I've always believed that he's a front man. That's all I've believed. Like he's a front man. He's a gateway to money. That's what he is. Do you know what I mean? He's a front man. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a front man. He's a get. You know, obviously there's interests that Saudi Arabia have. There's interests that other people have. But he doesn't strike me really as the guy. Does that make sense? Like what he strikes me as he's more of a showman. Does that make sense? He's more of a showman. He's more of a front man, and he's a good front man for the real people in the background that actually have the money that make things happen.
Look, he could be really a boxing savant that knows everything and loves boxing and really wants to make the sport the best sport ever. He could be legitimately that guy. But he could also be that guy saying, now that I own everything, I'm going to manipulate everything. Because remember, Ring Magazine's the Bible of boxing. Their rating panel, or no, let me get it right. Their ratings have been considered the gold standard of ratings for years. You know what I mean? When did they bring the ring belt back? What, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? It's been considered the gold standard. And if you go it historically, it was always considered the gold standard. If you control the belts, if you control the rankings, if you control the TV, if you control the fighters, if you control the promoters, it's a problem. You know what I mean? So like I said, he could be the best guy, he could be the worst guy. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know. I'm saying that until all the cards are on the table, and let's see what, because I said you're buying everything. It's like you got a jigsaw. He's got all the pieces. I want to see what picture he creates.
Okay, right. Ryan, can we keep you another 15, 20? Is that all right? I just want to go through some other stuff. But before I do, I just want to say with Turki Alalshikh, Ryan, last time we discussed Turki Alalshikh, right? You know what we talked about? You just pointed out that he's bought Ring Magazine. Do you think it's a coincidence that Turki Alalshikh's just bought Ring Magazine, and the last thing that me and you were talking about was his desire to have one champion in all of boxing and possibly one belt in all of boxing? Do you think that there's a link there between Turki Alalshikh potentially wanting one belt, one ruler, one champion in each division, and Turki Alalshikh then buying Ring Magazine? Do you think it's possible that in the future we could see one champion, as in a Ring Magazine champion, and that's it, pretty much?
I will say it'll be hard. It will be hard. And the reason why is that you got obviously the WBC. The WBC is on board with Turkey as well, obviously. But you got the WBA, you got the IBF, WBO. These are companies that make their own money. They have their own shareholders, their own stocks, and they're not broke people. They want to enjoy their business and pass it down to their family and XYZ, just like Suleiman done with his son, who obviously Mauricio, who runs WBC now. The point I'm making is to have one belt, you need to buy out the other belts. Yeah, and then you got to stop someone from creating more belts. So the WBO, that belt came out in the mid 80s. The IBO came out in the 90s. Just because you buy out all the belts, it doesn't mean people can't create other sanctioning bodies. So for you to have one champion, you've got to literally have a monopoly and shut down everyone else from doing anything that's against your agenda, which is illegal.
Let's move on, because I'm butchering this topic. Conspiracy theories about Daniel Dubois and Floyd Schofield, which I'll get up on the screen. Do you actually buy into any of this stuff, that there was something going on? I tell you what, and I don't believe this for a second, right? But I've had it said to me by a couple of people. In fact, I got a DM on Twitter from somebody who's convinced that there's more to the Daniel Dubois story than meets the eye. Ari, and I'm not even going to say it because it's a bit silly, but I think you might have heard it.
Yeah.
You've heard it, haven't you? You've heard it.
I've heard a few things.
Go on, right.
So I will say this. I think the Floyd Schofield one, I just think Floyd Schofield messed up. Floyd Schofield doesn't have a name or a profile big enough to generate any issues. Obviously, his team has said some stupid things about Shakur stole their passport and this and that and all that other rubbish, and then he pulled the fire. I think that was more of a genuine pullout than the Dubois one, because like I said, Schofield has nothing to lose. He's just lost a massive payday. He's not a millionaire. He doesn't have nothing there for him. So I believe that one is more likely than anything else. Daniel Dubois, on the other side, is a world champion. with options. Parker is a dangerous fight. It was a 50-50 fight. Everyone was like, oh, we have no idea how it's going to go. And people that we both know that are respected were all the same thing, that it's a tough fight. How do you call it? When you're in that situation where you can make X fighting Parker, but the AJ rematch is looming because Fury's retired. The Usyk fight is there, which all are bigger, high profile main event fights with much more money on the table. I can see there's a reason to pull out. I'm not saying there is, but I can see where business could take precedent over.
I'll mute myself. But here's what I said. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this. I've said that this is all a load of nonsense, right? And the reason I've said this is because both of these guys ended up in hospital, right? And in the case of Floyd Schofield, we can see Floyd Schofield actually as we speak here in hospital, you know, connected up to, you know, various tubes or monitoring, or he's got electrodes on him or whatever. He's probably got electrodes monitoring his heart rate or something, or things going on. Why would professional doctors in hospital let somebody take up a hospital bed, connect all these fucking electrodes up to him and do all this stuff to him if he doesn't need it? Why would they do that if he doesn't need it? Like, my question is, doesn't that mean they must have taken his temperature? They must have checked him for a fever. They must have fucking checked his heart rate. They must have done some kind of blood test. They must have thought, look, something's gone on here. Is it not possible that, and I don't go abroad very often, Ryan, but I'm pretty sure you go abroad more than me. Is it not just more plausible that, look, these guys have gone abroad, something's happened to the food over there? I've seen in some of these Saudi Arabian hotels, by the way, because I remember seeing some people on Twitter. They've got these massive buffets in the hotels. I'm pretty sure, like they've got self-serve buffets in the hotel. I'm pretty sure I've seen it before. I think it was the first ever Riyadh season card I ever saw. They were showing the whole guys arriving to the hotel and arriving to the venue. And there was this massive, actually, it was because Jarrell Miller, there you go, Jarrell Miller, the biggest snitch in the world. There you go, Jarrell Miller, the biggest snitch going. Look, Jarrell Miller, yeah, aka Big Pharmacy, I'll get it up right on the screen, did a video. There you go, Ryan. Jarrell Miller versus the 5-star buffet. Yeah. So we know, yeah, that in these Riyadh season hotels and these hotels that these guys are going to, we know that these guys are eating buffet food. And I'm an old man, Ryan. Yeah, I'm old. I'm 39 years old. I'm old, and I'm starting to get to the age now where I'm thinking about going on cruises, which is what old people do. Okay. Yeah. And rule number one about cruises, is the buffet food, is dangerous as fuck. Like, you need to get there early. And you need to wash your hands, because people are notorious buffets for making people sick and ill. So isn't it not just possible, that these idiots, just ended up catching something, in Saudi Arabia, food poisoning or something, or some kind of stuff?
So that was the conversation I had midweek when it came about the Dubois. Is that obviously it's a viral thing, it's something going around, and because you're all there together in close proximity to each other, like, again, I found the pre-fight activities pretty funny. The grips stuff and the catching the stuff, I thought it was all entertaining. But the point I'm making is that they were all in close proximity. So if someone was sick, you could easily pass it around to every single person. So it's plausible. This is kind of going slightly off subject, but people's personal hygiene is not the same levels. I said, I've been out with the kids on family holidays, and I go, kids, don't eat that. Because you see people sticking their hands in and not using the knife and fork.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, when you're there at a nice hotel and you got 300-400 people all eating from the cafeteria area, you expect people to tell their kids. And you have kids, and sometimes not even adults, it's the kids just running down, just putting their hands in stuff. It's like that's what happens. That's what happens. You know what I mean? Yeah, you would expect you'll think people will be different, but you're not. You're in there with people from different cultures and different backgrounds and different upbringings that treat things differently.
Okay. So if you had to guess, if we're going to give it a thing, Dubois, you think it's legit? I think it's legit. I don't think he's afraid of Joseph Parker. And by the way, I think he would win. I think he would win that fight. You can't guarantee with Dubois. Dubois is an exciting fighter. He either destructs or self-destructs, and I've said that before. But I don't think Dubois there's any shenanigans there going on.
I don't think Dubois will pull out. However, like I said, let's be honest, boxing is a shady business. And like I said, the options Dubois has is the best options in the world right now. He's on cloud nine. He's had the best out of any heavyweight. He's on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak that no one saw coming against 3 or 4 legit guys. He's a world champion, and he has potentially 3 fights out there that make more. So I'm not saying he did put out, because like I said, I'm with you. I believe it was a genuine thing, but I'm just saying that the conspiracy theorists out there saying this and that, I can understand why they're saying that. Because like I said, he's got the Usyk fight there, he's got the AJ fight there. Fury might want to come back and say, let me fight Dubois and get a title and have another unification. He has options. No one else right now, even AJ, does not have the options that Dubois has. Dubois is on cloud nine. He is arguably the most sought after heavyweight in the world.
Right, let's move on. Derek Chisora, if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh.
Ryan, I said it on the show and I got pulverized for saying it. Derek Chisora should have retired years ago. Let me quickly say, yep. Ryan, why is it, and you'll like this one, I've said before, Derek Chisora to me, and I'm saying this as a person who has mental problems, is obviously mentally ill. Like, I'm saying this. Look, I've got boxes of fucking sertraline right next to me. So I am not making fun of people who are mentally ill. I've got boxes of sertraline all over the house, yeah? So I know a thing or two about antidepressants, right? But you tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. My quick assessment of Derek Chisora is very simple. This is a man who's clearly unstable. This is a man who's clearly on the edge. This is a man whose behavior is clearly unacceptable, right? But nobody wants to pull him up on his behavior, right? Or question his behavior because they don't want to take a punch in the face. And so Derek Chisora has basically become what I call the emperor's new clothes in boxing, where the emperor walks around naked, butt naked with his cock hanging out, asking his subjects, how do I look? How does my new suit look? And everybody's so afraid to say he's naked. They go, oh, you look great. You look wonderful. You look fantastic. It looks amazing. They all tell him what he wants to hear. But actually, do you know what I mean? The guy's going, is walking around start bollock naked. And I think it's the same thing with Derek Chisora, This man is walking around, do you know what I mean? Headbutting delivery drivers, talking about attacking fans. He doesn't care if you're a fan. If you approach him when he's with his kids, he's going to attack you. He's this. Everything he talks about to me is negative, involves violence, involves hurting other people, assaulting other people. That's the majority of what he says. He's constantly popping up backstage in fights, in situations where he's not wanted, walking into people's changing rooms unannounced, walking around here unannounced. He just seems to fucking walk around. Derek Chisora's life seems to be one big fucking episode of Grand Theft Auto. He seems to just walk around, boxing arenas in and around the country, doing whatever the fuck he likes. And nobody wants to check him and say, actually, Derek, enough's enough. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Actually, Derek, your behavior is, a bit, we all saw it with Lethal Bizzle and Skepta and all those guys in the ring. Give me pal! Give me pal! Do you know what I mean? And it's just the whole thing, Ryan, that post-fight speech, his behavior on the way to the arena, this fake crying, which you can now see on the screen, is bizarre, And I just think we're at a point, Ryan, where why are we glorifying, Why are we glorifying? I know Derek Chisora would spark me out unconscious, right? Would I say it to his face? Probably not. I'll probably run. But let me just say it while I'm behind the keyboard. Why are we glorifying 40-year-old black men who don't know how to behave? Why are we glorifying this? It annoys me as a person because for me, he does nothing to represent the community in a positive light at all. For me, he feels, obviously we're both Reform Party and all that. I know you might not be, but we're both Reform Party and all that, but he does nothing really to represent. Do you know what I mean? He fulfills a lot of stereotypes for me. He doesn't really shed people of color in a particularly positive light, Ryan. Maybe I'm going on a bit too much there, but I'm not a fan of Chisora. And most of all, Ryan, he's taken too much punishment in the ring. I don't give a shit. I know the Wilding fight. Yeah, he had a good fight, relatively unscathed. But Ryan, he said both his eardrums popped in the first round. He said that. He said both his ears went. Look, at what stage do we say, Ryan, enough is enough of Chisora?
I'll touch it on two different ways quickly. One, Derek Chisora's personal life is his personal life. I don't agree with some of the things he says and does, what you've alluded to. I don't agree with some of his politics and his comments and all the stuff that goes on. But that's an individual choice about the individual. I can't change the individual. What I don't like, which I have a problem with, is him still boxing. As boxing fans, we know the dangers of boxing. I have watched many fights over the years. I've been watching boxing, like I said, for basically over 40 years now. And I've watched too many fights live where the boxer has got brain damage or even died after the fight. It's happened not once or twice. I'm talking 6, 7, 8, 9 times over the years. I love a good knockout. I don't like when I see MMA and I see guys on the floor and the refs just standing where the guy's getting punched in the head multiple times, because I know the damage it causes. I've been in the ring, I've sparred, I've fought, I know the type of damage it causes. The point I'm making is, when I see someone like Derek Chisora, who's taken way too much punishment, he's clearly not the same fighter he was before. His last 2 performances, I don't care if they were wins, they were terrible. The Joyce fight, he looked like the Walking Dead. He literally was just stumbling across the ring and just landing shots. And Joyce is not athletic enough to capitalize on anything like that. Against O'Wallin, who was petrified to throw a punch, again, he still didn't look good. He won the fight, but it wasn't technical boxing. It wasn't good boxing. It was brawling. It was not the fighter he once was.
At any stage when you watch that fight, at any stage when you watch that Wilden fight, did you question whether that was a legit fight? At any stage, with the way Wilden fought, just that, at any stage did you think, fucking hell, this is a bit dodge?
Otto Wilden is technically sound, which means when he fought Fury, he could hold his own. Being technically sound doesn't mean you're a good fighter.
Yeah.
And you get what I'm trying to say, and I don't mean it as a disrespect. It's just a fact. Now I'm sure we've all seen great fight. Loads of fighters are technically sound and know what they're doing. Don't mean they can fight. You know what I mean? And be honest, watching that Wilden fight, was that an entertaining boxing match?
It was shocking. I don't know what they were talking about. It was shocking.
Yeah, there was hugging and clapping, and it wasn't good boxing. You know what I mean? And Frank Warren said years ago, Derek should retire.
And he was right, and he still believes that, by the way. He's just trying
to.
No,
right. But he's still fighting on the Frank Warren card. This is what I'm trying to say. With boxing doesn't help itself. Now I'm trying to say, yeah, I do not want to see another boxer get hurt in the ring or get any sort of damage. And if I'm being totally honest, Derek's on that list. Yeah, I've got so much boxing in my brain over the years. I just remember stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Danny Williams when he was in his prime, when he fought Julius Francis, and when he fought Potter, and when he fought Tyson, and he fought Klitschko. Hear Danny Williams' voice then, back in the 90s. Danny Williams was still fighting 2-3 years ago. Yeah, must have had maybe 40 losses in a row, or 20 losses, win 1, 20 losses, win 1, 20 losses. Like, who in their fucking right mind lets these people fight? Yeah, I'm scared Chisora will be like that, where he'll say it's over at 50 and he'll come back on small horse shows, come back in Germany, come back in Lithuania, come back all over the world and do this. Like, it's not good. Like, I can't understand how your wife, your kids, your family, your brother, people around you just say fucking no. That's all you got to do.
No, you can't say no to Derek Chisora. You know this, Ryan. You can't say no to Derek Chisora. That's what it is. You can't say no to Derek Chisora.
Derek gets paid very handsomely for his fights. If Frank and Eddie said, we're not promoting you no more, Derek, you've done too much damage now. It's done, it's over. You're rich, your family's secure, you've got multiple properties, you've got money in the bank, we're not promoting you no more. Chisora's not going to go for a £50,000 page packet. He's not going to want to fight for that. He wants a big stadium show. He's going to main event. He's going to get paid millions or hundreds of thousands. That's what he wants. You take that away from him, he won't fight for free. And like I said, I like Derek. You know what I mean? I've met Derek multiple times. As you know already, I've sat in his camp years ago. I'd have no problem with Derek. You know what I mean? I like Derek, and I'm trying to say. But for any boxer, it's not about who I like or I don't like. You can't take that type of damage. There's a limit. Derek should not be getting punched no more by anyone.
He's in the ring post-fight there saying, holding up these cardboard cards of Usyk, AJ, and Daniel Dubois, and asking the crowd, who do you want to see me fight next? I actually think, believe it or not, I know people will laugh at me, I honestly think AJ would actually probably put him in hospital permanently. I think that's a great fight. just with the shot selection that AJ has, because you know what, Dubois are his answer, but you know what it is with Dubois. We know Dubois is a bit of a 1-2 merchant. Dubois is a 1-2 merchant. Dubois is primarily jab right hand, jab right hand. Various combinations of those. He's not on big cooker. He's not a big uppercut. AJ's got a much better shot selection, and I can see it. AJ, who's very, very good at uppercuts, particularly up close, and the way that Chisora sort of rolls and does his thing. He's been a sucker for uppercuts in all of his last 4 or 5 fights. Chisora, I think that AJ fight would absolutely, that would be it for him. Lights out.
Let me put it in perspective of how long Chisora has been fighting and when he should have stopped. Yeah. David Haye fought Tony Benny and retired when? 6 years ago? 7 years ago?
Hey, retired, possibly a bit more than that.
Yeah, maybe more than that, maybe 2016-ish, 2015-ish. But that's how long David Haye has been retired on his second retirement. David Haye fought Chisora maybe 15 years ago. Maybe more.
That was the real last dance for me. That was the real last dance.
If you start counting, how many heavyweight world champions have there been since Vitaly Klitschko? Yeah, Chisora fought Klitschko for the title the fight before David Haye, I believe. The point I'm making is, the sport has gone on from when Chisora was in his prime and when he was fit and healthy and when he could do this. The sport has moved on 100 times over. Yeah, someone who fought Chisora, someone who fought Klitschko for the heavyweight title, someone who fought David Haye in the biggest match at West Ham. Yeah, it was West Ham. Yeah,
it was
all those years ago. Yeah, should not be fighting today. Think about it. Put it in perspective.
Right? Can you let someone brought it up in the comments? I'm just going to read it out. If Chisora's forced to stop boxing, God bless the British public. He's a maniac. Show that delivery driver video. Ryan, let's tell the truth and be honest. Yeah, you can't let this guy out into the fucking public. This guy can't go out into the regular public. I promise you. I don't want anything to happen to Derek Chisora, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I tell you what, if he fucking retired today, Derek Chisora, I'm telling you, I'll be counting the days until I see him on BBC News. Honestly, I would. I'll be counting the days down until I see him on BBC News. I know I'm going to see him. I know I'm going to see him front page, or on some kind of website doing something.
Yeah. I don't. Like I said, Chisora has money. He's not broke. Yeah, he retires now. He lives a good life. You don't need drama. Don't need stress. He don't have to work a 9 to 5 ever again.
He fucking should. He might get his mind right.
Think about this lifestyle. For the rest of Chisora's life, he'll get free tickets ringside to every boxing event. Every boxing party, every boxing event, everything he wants, he will do. He's not even dipping in his own pockets.
Yeah. What's he going to do when he gets to the event? We know what he does. He runs around the event. He runs around backstage, starting fights with people, telling people to fuck themselves, telling people to fuck off, threatening promoters, and barging into fucking changing rooms. That's what he does.
I'm just saying that there's a time. He needs to stop. He needs to stop. Like training for a fight and being a boxer. Your testosterone's high. You're feeling that vibe because that's part of who you are. Once he stops boxing and he starts living a regular life, that will lower down. You know what I mean? He won't feel that need because he feels he's in the mix. Like, come on now, as you alluded to, he's talking about fighting AJ. That shows the testosterone's fucking super high. So he's thinking,
testosterone, Ryan.
AJ's my buddy. AJ's my friend. We grew up together in the gym in XYZ. Now he wants to fight AJ. He thinks he could compete with AJ in a boxing match. I think it would be good for him. When everyone knows that'll be fucking a nightmare.
Oh, Jesus! All right, let me move on from Chisora very quickly, but quickly, and we're nearly done, Ryan. On the topic of lack of brain cells, we're on the topic of lack of brain cells. Ryan,
yes.
What is it with British boxing's addiction to Dillian Whyte? As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. What is this, May the 4th, or is it, or the 4th of April? Whyte versus Joyce.
Yeah.
I'll let you. I just want to say, I worked it out. and I said, when did Dillian Whyte fail his first test? Now we know he failed his first test for something that was silly, like it wasn't actually hard
Yeah,
PEDs.
it was ripped through. I think it was.
Yeah, it was something you can get. You know. So
Yeah.
I don't want to hold that on Dillian because when he first tested positive, yeah, it was for something pretty crappy. Like it wasn't a big deal.
Do you know Enzo Macronelli got popped for the same thing within 6 months of Chisora? Enzo Macronelli got like a 3-month ban or a 6-month ban and won Young Boxer of the Year. Dillian got like a 3-year ban.
Right. Okay. Which doesn't surprise me. We've had it with Liam Cameron. Liam Cameron getting fucking years for doing coke, and then obviously your man Conor Ben there, nothing happening there. So it is what it is. So
or
we
Fury
know.
Fury had the same thing. Caught with coke and just gets over.
Yeah. But Dillian failed his first test, right? We reckon Dillian failed his first. If I said to you, Dillian Whyte failed his first test 15 years ago, would you say that's about right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll say it's about that.
About right. If I said to you, Ryan, 15 years later, Dillian Whyte still can't pass these tests.
Yeah. So
what are we doing in this sport, Ryan? What are we doing in British boxing? 15 years later, this man can't pass these tests.
So here's the thing about it. You have to. I'll gotta be careful what I say, because so you have the fighter's always accountable for his body and what he does and what he does not do. Yeah, right. If you get caught once because someone spiked your drink, or your coach gave you something, or your fitness trainer gave you something, or whatever, and you got caught once, you should learn from that first time not to let anyone else do this to you again. I.e., no coaches, I don't do this, I don't do that, don't do this, blah, 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 blah. You can't fail 3, 4, 5 drug tests and get away with it and say you're not a fucking steroid cheat. There's no way you could do it. Yeah? The chances of having cross-contamination in a pill or something you take, like, you go to your local chemist and buy your vitamins, your vitamin C and whatever, the chance of having cross-contamination in that once in a lifetime, if you take your vitamin C every single day, 365 days a year for 40 years, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of pills. Chance of cross-contamination is like 0.0000000.1. How the fuck did Dillian Whyte get cross-contamination 4 fucking times or 5 times? How? You get my point? You can't do this. You can't say in a clear face that you haven't done nothing. Yeah, and I need to.
Yeah, that's all right.
When you're around boxing, and when you're around gyms, and when you go places the next YZ, you see people and you bump into people and you see things that I'm trying to say. Let's just say I've seen more than enough to say he ain't clean.
Despite that, I've got him to beat Joyce. Would you agree with that?
Did you see Did you see Dillian Whyte's last fight?
I did not, because he fought in Gibraltar, didn't he?
Fucking terrible. Fucking terrible.
He needs to go and see Dr. Usman. That'll sort him out. Carry on.
Again, same thing with Dillian. And I'm trying to say, right? That Chisora could be a bit of an arsehole at times. And I'm trying to say, Dillian is not the nicest person to meet sometimes. And I'm trying to say, can be very standoffish, can be a bit aggressive. Know what I mean? Yeah. See with Del Boy could be a bit jokey and laughy. Dillian's not as like that. He's a bit more street. Know what I mean? And the point I'm making is, he's not the nicest person. And even though he's not the nicest person, I still don't want to see him get damaged in the ring. Still don't want to see him get damaged. He shouldn't be fighting either. Know what I mean? Yeah, at this level. Know what I mean? And I think him fighting Joyce, yeah, based on his current performance, his last performance, I don't think it's a good fight. It's a fight that's banking on their names. You're looking at Dillian Whyte and Joyce. You're looking at the names. You're not looking at the substance of the fighters.
But Joyce, the way Joyce walks himself into punches, yeah. I mean, this man has no defense whatsoever. I mean, but personally, I don't know what he does in it. He goes abroad, yeah, and he was doing like fucking 6 weeks with fucking Ismail Salas. Lord knows what he was doing. I don't think Salas is the problem, by the way. I just think there's some people, and I love Joyce, but I think there's some people where you know what I'm talking about, right? Because you probably work with these people all the time. Do you know there's some people in life that no matter how many times you tell them something, it don't register. Yeah, I've got a feeling Joyce is just one of them people. Like, you just don't grasp it. You just don't grasp it. But
yeah, not that's what it is. No, you got people that just have a they've done something a certain way for so long they just can't change. Yeah, right. I give you an example. You got someone that when he was 17 got his license was always a fast driver. Now they're 40, they're a fast driver. They just don't. They just know they shouldn't do it, but they still do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's what Joyce is. He knows he should put his hands up, but because he's banked on his toughness for so long, it's just a reflex. He just can't do it. He just can't do it. He like Joyce is like 37, 38. He's not a spring chicken no more. He just can't do it. Leopard can't change his spots.
do you
Know
think
what I
he
mean?
should be boxing? Do you think he should be boxing at a high level?
I don't. I Joyce has clearly declined. No, he's not clearly declined. Joyce was banking on his chin until Zhang got him, and he proved that he couldn't take the shot like he used to. However, the damage he's took in those two fights pales in comparison to the damage Dillian Whyte and Chisora has took over the years. So would I say, should he retire? No. But is he on that path to say, guess what? He needs to start thinking about other options? Yes.
Okay.
So think about it. Think about it this way. Chisora in particular has been taking damage for maybe 10 years too much.
Yeah. Wait, no,
Yeah.
Chisora's on a different level.
Right. But like with Joyce, when he lost to Zhang, what, 4 fights ago?
Yeah.
Then he fought, what was it, Cash Ali? He fought or something like that.
Yep. That's
Like,
right.
and Cash, and I think Cash bit him in the chest or something like that.
Yeah, and then Chisora after that.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, he's not taking that much damage. He took a bad knockout, but he's not taking damage. It's different. What Joyce is negligent to what he can, negligent to his defense, but he's not taking damage. It's different. Where Dillian's a big guy. Yeah, no, I mean, like, big shoulders, big frame, but his conditioning is never really the best. And because his condition is not the best, he gets into slugfest and get into walls all the time. No, I'm trying to say where Joyce doesn't really get into walls. You know what I mean? He's either dishing it out or he gets into it. No, I mean, it's different. It's just different styles. Like Dillian Whyte, who has more ability than Joyce, shouldn't be getting into walls like that. But if your conditioning is poor, that's what you get. You have no choice but to stand and bang.
Finish off the rest of the card. Bakole and Riakporhe.
I like that fight.
I do. I think, you know what? I said it last night and I'll say it again. I think Bakole would beat Whyte if you match them after these fights. I think Bakole and Whyte will both win. That's what I'm going for. I'm going to go for Whyte to beat Joyce, and I'm going to go for Bakole to beat Riakporhe, aka Blacks. Yeah. And I think Bakole is the better rapper out of the two, but we'll talk about that another time.
No, so I tell you what, my favorite thing of that press conference was when Bakole said, "You know, Madonna's not young anymore."
Yeah.
that killed me.
Oh, I think Bakole said to him, "Oh, he's uneasy in my presence." He basically saying he's shook. And Riakporhe said, "Well, yeah, I'm scared he's gonna give me a big hug or something." And people started laughing. And I kind of said, "Don't worry. After I'm gonna beat you in good fashion, and when I'm done with you, you can go back to kissing Madonna." Sorry.
One thing I'll say about Bakole, which he needs to sort out, is the weight. He weighed as a cruiserweight, obviously he was 200 pounds, and he struggled to make the weight. But in his first heavyweight fight, even I know he done the Bridgerweight thing, which is 220, he weighed 265. 265 in terms of stone from 200 pounds is about 5 or 6 stone. Yeah, you don't need to put on that type of weight. Yes, you're tall, you're 6'5". I know that. No, I mean that, but that's a lot of weight to put on. In terms of performance, you're going to sacrifice performance with that type of weight. I have this issue with weight. I find it very, very hard to call anyone an athlete once they reach over a certain weight. Yeah, this is why I think we're in one team where the UFC got it right by having a weight limit for their heavyweights. You can't be 300 pounds like Martin Bakole and say you're an athlete. Yeah,
Exactly.
Your body can't carry that type of weight for an extended period of time in an athletic performance. Yeah, when you have a sport like American football, where it's short bursts of energy, short period of time, you can last a bit longer, but you can't find a 300 pound man and say he's fit. or 280 and whatever. I don't care how much steroids they have in them or what they put in them or EP or whatever. You're not going to find a 300-pound man that could run like a guy who's 200 pounds. Yeah, it's just the cardiovascular capability is just different. You know, you get what I'm trying to say?
I hear.
And with Bakole, I'm not saying 265 he's not an athlete, but 265 is too big for him. He needs to keep it around 240. You know what I mean? So again, and again, if you look at it realistically, he's 6'5". Like I said, I've met Cody. He's a tall guy, and I'm trying to say, and he's got big shoulders, so he could carry the weight. So because he could carry the weight, don't mean you should.
Final words? Anything that you want to bring up? Anything? Any final thoughts are coming to you about anything?
Ajit Kabial, to me now, yeah. Ajit Kabial, yeah. He's the guy to watch right now in the heavyweight division. He's the guy to watch. When he beat Chisora years ago, he kind of just stuck under the radar. Similar to Bakole, couldn't get the fights. Given the opportunity, his last 3 fights are super impressive. Yeah. Makhmudov was a bit of an unknown force, but everyone was scared of him. And if he had a bit of a name, good win. But again, who was unknown. I was really high on Frank Sanchez, and Kabial destroyed him with the bodywork, just like he done with Makhmudov. And then Zhang, I don't care if you like Zhang, I don't care if you think he's old or he's 41 or whatever. Everyone knew Zhang is a dangerous guy, and he was a guy that everyone's talking about fighting in the bird's nest, and he could be here, he could be there, so and so. A lot of people had Zhang beating Parker, who everyone thinks Parker's #1 and the great. Yeah, Kabial just stopped Zhang in 6 rounds after getting knocked down by Zhang the round before. If that's not resilience, yeah, and if that's not a fighter, something's wrong there. Yeah, Kabial is the one to watch. I want to see Kabial in next with either the likes of Parker, Bakole if it's available, or one of the guys on the way out. Because, like I said, AJ's on the way out, Fury's on the way out, or is out already. Now I'm trying to say, give the man a shot. Why have a guy like that sitting on the fence?
Just before we go, I think we're going to see they're going to try another time to make Wilder and AJ. Can you see that happening? Because we know Wilder's looking for a fight. We know he wants to fight. We know he's going to fight again this year. Because he was actually nearly, apparently he agreed to do some kind of bare knuckle crap, and then that got fucking turned over, and then he agreed another boxing. So he's coming back, but him and AJ.
He was supposed to fight that guy that walked out the ring with Efe Hijabba a few years ago. Right. Yeah, so that fight, I believe that fight was signed, or it's supposed to be signed. It happened somewhere like in April or May. The problem with Wilder versus AJ, yeah, is that Wilder has to win at least a fight or 2 for anyone to be interested in. And based on his last 2 performances, I don't know, can he win a fight or 2? And the simple reason why, in his last 2 performances, he might have threw 10 punches.
He's washed, in my opinion. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you think that, basically, I want to end on this. Actually, let me quickly end on this. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to ask you, all right? You don't have to back me or anything like that. I'm going to ask you something, all right? Because I wanted to talk to you about Usyk, yeah, and something came up. I'm going to ask you a question that I asked yesterday, right? Do you think, yeah, just out of interest, do you think this is a fair question from me, right? I'm trying to get Usyk up on the screen, but I can't. Do you think this is a fair question from me about Alexander Usyk? And I'll leave it at this. I find it very funny at the minute, right, that the boxing media isn't asking Alexander Usyk certain questions, yeah, about what's going on. AKA, we know there's a conflict going on, yeah, in XYZ part of the world, yeah, and I'm not making any comment about who's right in the conflict and who's right, who's wrong. I'm not making any comments about that, right? We know there's a conflict going on, right? And we know that in a certain country, right, which is at the minute recruiting soldiers, right, to go and fight on the front lines, right? We know, right, that young individuals, 20 years old, right, and such, right, are being bundled into vans, yeah, and literally taken and driven to the front line. Like, that's not conspiracy. Like, I'm not going to, but you can see it, like, you know, all over. Like, this is part of a draft. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, like, at the minute, like, if you walk outside your door in a certain country and you're not in the right place, right, and a van can come up, yeah, people can literally take you, grab you, put you in a van, and you're enlisted, right? And that is what's going on. And there's a whole thing going on with people trying to dodge the draft and people trying to get away and such, right? I want to make it clear to everybody, I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. This is stuff that's been discussed in all major newspapers, including The Guardian, things like that, because they're discussing Ukraine's ability at the moment to actually find people, to go and fight, right? Because there's a big draft, right? I find it, Ryan, and maybe I'm going over the top here, but this has been bothering me for about a year, 2 years. No one's asked questions about these two, Usyk and Krasik, yeah? Because if I was Ukrainian, right, and the prospect of my family being drafted, right, came up, right? So I know if I was in Ukraine and there was a prospect of my son or someone I know or my dad or someone, right, being drafted and taken to the front line against his own will to go and fight. Meanwhile, every time I look online, I see this guy, Krasuk, who I believe I've been asked, I've told is Ukrainian, yeah? And Usyk. These guys are in Saudi Arabia making fucking millions and millions and millions and millions. These guys are Usyk was he's fucking ringside with the likes of fucking Cristiano Ronaldo. He's ringside with the likes of fucking Anthony Joshua. I mean, he's having the fucking time of his life. Krasuk. And guys in the chat, I want you to tell me, guys in the chat, if I'm fair to ask this question or unfair. Let me know in the chat. Am I fair to ask this or unfair to ask this? These guys are having a time of their life at a time where very, very young people are being forced to fight in a war that they don't want to take part in. And I don't think anybody in the media, and you know what annoys me the most about it? The media portrays these two as Ukrainian heroes, right? These two are portrayed as fucking heroes, Krasik and Usyk, right? And we know Usyk, was involved in the war, right? We know that at the beginning. Both him and Lomachenko were involved in the war, and then they exited the war, didn't they? They weren't on the front lines or anything, but they were involved in the war, and then they exited the war. And Usyk said, right, and I believe Usyk said this. If I'm wrong, to the lawyers, I apologize, but I believe he said that it was something along the lines of that he had the blessing of Zelensky and that it was going down the lines of they thought it'd be better for Usyk to draw attention to the war and draw attention to all of it. Do you know what I mean by, drawing attention to the plight of Ukraine and keeping people and keeping the war in the news cycle by Usyk going out and boxing and representing Ukraine. And these people were portrayed as heroes. And do you know what? To be honest with you, I think they're big question marks to ask about the way these people have been portrayed. Are they really heroes? And there'd be big question marks to ask about, what they're doing versus what other people are doing. Do you understand what I'm saying there, Ryan? And you tell me if I'm out of order for saying that.
No, I don't think you're out of order, but I think we have to separate what people are and who they are. Krasik is a promoter / manager.
Okay.
Usyk's a fighter. They're not politicians. They're not trained army. There's atrocities in all countries. In the UK, in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa, there's atrocities all over the place. Because you're from a culture or from a country, it doesn't mean you have to be associated with those atrocities. They wanted to support, obviously, their countrymen in the struggles, what's going on over there. And I don't know, but they mostly went over there and realized this is not something that we could deal with. And this is obviously, when you go into war, you're risking your life. And sometimes, one, people love their life, no one wants to die. And two, sometimes you could be stronger as a symbol of hope by doing what you're doing in honor of your country. So should they be held as heroes? Maybe not, because the heroes are the people that are out there fighting and dying every single day to save their families.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they're bad for not being where they are.
No, I hear you. Right. I agree with you on that. But at the same time, and I want to make that clear, yeah, right. That I accept that, right? But what I'm trying to come at it is these guys are portrayed as Ukrainian heroes and things have been going on and things have been said, right, by these two in the media, right? And I just find it ironic that nobody in the boxing media seems to want to ask these questions. I'll ask the question straight up and I'll ask it in the chat now. I find it very, very, very disturbing, yeah, right? And I'll say it now. why these two are out in Saudi Arabia making hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
right? While fucking 18 and 20-year-olds are set out on the front lines to get shot and die. I find that absolutely bizarre that nobody is asking any questions, because these two individuals on my screen, these two individuals on my screen, right, have been portrayed as heroes. There's been a lot of flag waving. We've seen speeches in the ring, right, after fights, and all kinds of things have gone on. All kinds of things have gone on, yeah, right? But if you're going to do that, and that's fine, if you're going to do that, I think alternative questions should be asked. And I think people do have a right to ask you why these two are out in Saudi Arabia meeting Cristiano Ronaldo and going around in gold limousines everywhere, where there's people on the front lines getting shot at.
Okay, but then what I will say to that is that, why would you ask a boxer and a promoter about the atrocities of the country? Shouldn't you be asking the government what are they doing to prevent these things going on? Not the athletes. It's like, because they're the figureheads that are being used within this, it doesn't mean they have the answer to the questions to resolve it. They're not even in the country to obviously have those conversations with these people. What's going on? You need to ask them. That's the thing about having a job. Yeah, that's the president's job, or the prime minister's job, or the army's job, or the minister of defense's job, or whatever job title that covers that remit, or the chief of police. It's not the athlete.
Do you think that if you're happy to politicize the issue when it suits you, that you should be happy to answer the alternative question?
That's a hard question to ask.
I'm just, do you know what I mean? I just want to, do you know what I mean? That's what I want to get, because the implication here, the implication here is that certain poor people who are a lot less fortunate, right? The implication is certain poor people who are a lot less fortunate and don't have the means are being sent to their deaths right now. And meanwhile, while that's happening, like I said before, other people who do have the means are fucking around in, and it's not even that. It's the whole thing of being in Saudi Arabia, hundreds of millions of dollars. This guy Krasuk is absolutely fucking everywhere, all over the place. They're meeting celebrities, being treated by royalty, and all this kind of stuff. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, but here, so all right. So I'm a reasonably smart guy. I've got a decent job. Doesn't mean I know everything about everything. Certain conversations I would dip out of because it's not my conversation, or certain subjects I would dive in head first because I know that subject matter. The point I'm making is that you could ask them questions, but what questions are you asking them? If you're asking the political climate of their country, what's going on, that's not for them to answer. So they could answer about the atrocities, about why the war is bad, because this is this and this and this and this happened. They could answer that question, which is like a level 2 question or level 5 question. You can't expect them to answer a level 20 question.
But just say, not for move away. Last thing, move away from asking them personally. What I mean is the media isn't asking questions at all. Forget about the thing of they're not asking Usyk and Krasuk personally. But do you not think the media are not asking any questions at all? Like I just personally, that's all I'm saying. Is like, I haven't seen one person. I think it's the only show on the face of the earth that has ever brought this up. And maybe I know you probably think I'm absolutely crazy, but I just find it bizarre. Honestly, Ryan, I just find it bizarre, right? That you've got a conflict going on involving a country, right? You've got two people, all right, who are meanwhile, we know what's going on. You've got two people that are in Saudi Arabia making millions of dollars at a time where less fortunate, sort of poorer people, young people, right, are dying en masse in the trenches across that country. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying about blaming Usyk or blaming Krasuk. I'm not even saying about asking them personally. What I'm saying is nobody in the boxing media, right, has sort of asked the question about, or nobody in media has asked a question about, well, what are these guys doing? Is it morally correct to do that? Is it right to do that? No one's asking the question. But I'm saying they were quick, but when it suited them, they were quick to then promote these same guys as heroes and this and that. And
but that go back to the same point I'm saying about, we're talking about boxing journalists speaking to boxers. The boxing journalists are not political journalists.
Okay,
so
fair point.
Like again, that I don't want to say that guy Charlie Parsons, he's always doing the chats with Eddie Hearn for 5 minutes before they do a fucking boxing conversation. The guy's like 21 years old. What's he going to go to Usyk about and talk about fucking politics? What does he know about politics in Ukraine?
Yeah, of course. He doesn't have to talk about Usyk, but
So what I'm trying to say is that because you're media in a particular field, which is they're covering the boxing side, they don't have the knowledge to have that conversation. And again, like I said, I'm a reasonably smart guy, but I don't even have the knowledge to answer some of the questions that people present on certain things, because again, if you're not in it, and if you're not researching it and reading up on it every day, it changes. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
What a politician says today is totally different tomorrow. So you have to be up to date with it.
Right, I'll leave you at that. And I apologise for taking it down that road. Guys in the chat, drop a comment if you think I've been fair or unfair on that. I think that, to be honest with you, I think I have been, because it's something that's been on my mind for 2 years and I've never heard it be raised before. So I've raised it here. Ryan's given me his answer. Ryan, final words. I apologise for taking you down that road. Final words, Ryan?
No problem. Thanks for having me on. Like always, great to talking about boxing. You know me. Love this shit.
All right. Hopefully you'll come back. All right. Take care.
Yeah. Anytime.
Take care, brother. See you soon.
All right. Take